I'm in the oldest panaderia in Manila. It's basically a Filipino bakery, and it's technically in the city of Pasig, which is a different city from Manila, but within Metro Manila. This place is 106 years old, and its longevity is largely thanks to what they make here: Filipino bread. The Philippines might not come to mind when you think of places with a lot of bread. When I thought of Filipino food, I thought of adobo, sisig, or Jollibees. But there's a large part of everyday life in this country that I didn't know about until recently. And that's the bread culture. You might say you know Filipino bread. It's pan de sal. And yeah, it is the most famous bread in the Philippines. But beyond that, there's a whole larger world of different varieties of bread that you can only find in this country. Alright, so this one is pan de sal that has burnt cheese and chocolate.
This one is more on the, I'd say moist side.
There are hundreds to thousands of varieties of bread across the country, many of which are limited to local towns and regions. And most bakeries like this one here aren't that easy to find on Google Maps. The information on there is not great. However, when you know where and what to look for, it becomes clear that bread is ingrained to everyday life here. So why is bread such a big thing here? Well, it's colonization. Pretty simple. I don't even want to bother teasing it. So today I want to look into the world of Filipino bread, how it's evolved into the culture it is today, and some of the varieties that exist. But I also want to figure out just where to find some of these breads and how to navigate this part of Filipino food that still feels kinda hidden and off the menu. This is my first time visiting the Philippines, and I need to say that Manila was not what I expected. Scattered across the city are these dense clouds of polished skyscrapers, and within these clouds are some of the most luxurious and clean neighborhoods I've ever seen in Southeast Asia. This part of the Philippines is not what they show online. Places like BGC felt part Singapore and part Manhattan. However, look behind these tinsel towers and you see a completely different city. Slums and dozens of makeshift houses spread across the landscape, dilapidated and neglected by those in their clouds above the streets. Manila is literally a tale of two cities, and in between are beautiful churches, some of the nicest I've seen in Asia, antiques left by the city's colonial rulers. Navigating all of this just felt impossible. So if I was gonna find bakeries and bread in local places, I needed a local.
So we have bread here. Do you prefer savory or sweet?
Savory or a mix of both?
Mix of both.
This is Micah. She's half Filipino and Japanese, and grew up here in Metro Manila. Now she's a DJ in Japan, but she was kind enough to give me a brief introduction to some of the bread available in the Philippines.
I think my recommendation, to try the classic one. For the classic, probably Spanish bread. Basically, it's just, butter and salt and the simple bread. But I think for a Filipino bread, it's heavy on like salt. It's salty. And also we use a lot of cheese and butter. You can also try cheese roll, which is, cheese. I don't know what to say because they're very simple bread.
What is this actually?
So this one, I believe it's the pandesal. So just a background about it, it's basically a Filipino staple. We love to eat it for breakfast, and we can eat it plain as it is, but sometimes we can also put some filling like either savory or sweet. For my case, I like putting peanut butter, so it's quite like a childhood food of mine.
Peanut butter?
Peanut butter.
Okay.
It's very simple.
It's very simple. There's more simple than I thought it would be. What is the sprinkling around it? What is that coating?
So that's basically breadcrumbs. Basically when they make it, it has to be crunchy on the outside and then soft on the inside. Yep, That's a pandesal. So this one is a pan de coco. So basically it's coconut.
It's sweet inside. It reminds me a lot of, there's a bread in Hong Kong with custard inside of it too, and it's coconut custard. It's called Kai Mei Dao in Hong Kong. It tastes really similar to it.
Well, I think for our coconut, I'd say a bit different compared to other Southeast Asian countries. Because for us, we use a lot of, for example, buko, which I think more of like a younger coconut. So probably taste-wise, it might be a bit different.
Okay, let's slow down a bit and just take a look at how bread took its roots across these scattered islands. Islands that have been influenced and touched by cultures from all over the world. Wheat isn't native to the Philippines. Instead, the indigenous diet here mostly consisted of rice, like much of Asia. It's most likely that bread made its first introduction to this region through Portuguese explorers in the 1500s. With them came a strong Catholic mission to convert the indigenous people of these islands to believe in God. And to do that, they needed hostia, or sacramental bread, for Holy Communion ceremonies. By the way, if you don't know, this bread represents the body of Christ, or you might know him as this guy.
Jesus Christ! Christ almighty! Christ! Christ!
But again, bread was very new to this part of the world, so they didn't have many of the ingredients needed. Some say that in the beginning, to replace yeast, some early missionaries used coconut wine called tuba. Though it was the Spanish that came and introduced the Filipinos to pan de sal, which means bread of salt in Spanish. It was originally a very crusty and sturdy bread with a dash of salt, and it didn't become a staple immediately. The Spanish brought wheat over to the Philippines to try and grow it here, but many parts of the country proved to be a difficult environment for the plant to survive in. And flour needed to be imported from either China or Japan to meet the demand of the Spanish settlers here. During these early days, bread was relatively hard to produce, and for a long time, it wasn't the daily staple it is today. But that all changed when the Americans came.
As headquarters for American commercial interests in the Orient, Manila has been transformed from a sleepy Spanish town into a modern city.
Very basically put, America took the Philippines from Spain. And when the first American settlers arrived here, they, to put it lightly, hated Filipino food. Some early American settlers found the cuisine to be of little nutritional value, worse than eating cold laundry starch, or found it to capture the supposed racial inferiority of the Filipinos. An American teacher who moved to the Philippines wrote about the food as, "It is not of a kind or quality to serve white people." Yeah, they were not a fan of it, and they wanted to change Filipino food in their image. Early on, a new public school system started introducing Filipino kids to nutrition classes. These classes would teach lessons on learning how to bake bread, cookies, cakes, and all kinds of wheat-based goods. But remember, bread already existed here in the Philippines, like the pan de sal the Spanish introduced, or the bread that used tuba instead of yeast. But Americans believed that their bread was better, and that Filipinos were going to like it more. An American company even hired consultants to create recipes to change the Filipino palate. One of these consultants even said that Filipinos would soon learn to prefer our American light bread to their traditional bread. And in a way, it worked. Pan de sal, which is the mascot Filipino bread, is no longer the crusty and salty bread it once was from the Spanish. It's now much softer and sweeter in comparison. So speaking of American influence on Filipino food, the obvious depiction of that is Jollibee's, which is probably now one of the most famous fast food chains in the world. So yeah, I got this meal. It's my first time having Jollibee's. I'm not really sure what to expect, but I've seen Anthony Bourdain's video with him talking about the spaghetti here, so I'm very interested to see what that's going to be like. It's chili. It's like chili pasta. Reminds me of the spaghetti and meatballs. I get why it's popular. No, that's really easy to chug down, actually. Next thing we have is probably what Jollibee's is most famous for, their chicken. So yeah, let's see what that's like. I don't know if it's good or bad, the fact that Jollibee's has been the favorite thing I've had in the Philippines so far. So, pandesal isn't the only Filipino bread out there. Over the decades, hundreds to thousands of varieties of bread have popped up around the country. It's impossible for me to list all of them, but I do want to show you some of the more common ones.
This one is more on the, I'd say, moist. So it's very buttery.
Alright, ensaymada. Let's give this a try.
So in the Philippines, we eat it a lot in merienda. Merienda is basically kind of like in between breakfast, lunch. So we love to eat a lot as Filipinos. So we actually have not only, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but we also have in between kind of like food breaks. And that's what we usually eat as a snack.
I think it's just too sweet for me.
Yeah.
It's really sweet. It's like
We love our sweet bread.
it's a cinnamon roll, but without the cinnamon
That's
and
true.
cheese instead. I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack if I eat this. I just don't think this one's for me. Probably second to pandesal is ensaymada. It's another sweet bread made with pork lard, sugar, and cheese. Again, bread is very tied to Catholicism, and ensaymada has been a major tradition for Christian holidays like Easter and Christmas. Many people now eat it outside of these holidays, but its origin is strongly tied to Christianity. So this is a cheese or ube cheese ensaymada, and the smell of it is so strong. I'm a little bit terrified that the flavor will be a bit too much for me, but let's see. Oh wow, it's actually pretty nice. It's much better than I expected. It's strong but decently balanced, and it's so soft and fluffy. I think it's the ube that doesn't make it so cheesy. Another major bread in the Philippines is monet, a smooth crusted bread roll baked in an interesting shape. It's probably one of the most basic breads in the country, which gives it the name the mother of all Filipino breads, and a bunch of varieties have spread off from monet. So it's in the shape of, you can kind of decide what you want to see in there. But yeah, it's supposed to be a really plain bread, like it's supposed to have nothing inside of it, so let's see. Very plain, very plain. One of the most unique looking breads you will find here is this one, kalihim. It's very visually striking with a vibrant red or pink filling in the middle. That's made with probably not what you expect. Lihim in Tagalog means secret. And the secret to this red filling is that it's made from unsold bread. Bakers would tear any leftover bread apart and mix it with butter, eggs, sugar, vanilla, and red food coloring. So its vibrant color doesn't come from raspberries or strawberries, but old bread.
We're in a tricycle, heading to Chinatown.
Not all Filipino breads have Western origins. The Philippines, again, is a country that has been shaped by dozens of different cultures. And you can see that with hopia. It's a bread that was created by Fujianese immigrants from China in the early 1900s. And instead of being tied to Christian traditions, this bread was originally eaten during the Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival as a cheap alternative to mooncakes, which were originally hard to come by in the Philippines. Okay, so this is a hopia. It's got pork floss in it, and I think coconut as well, so let's give it a try. Very Cantonese in flavor, actually. I'm pretty surprised. A bit like a mooncake as well. It's nice. So I think by now you can see that we can keep doing this all day. There are so many other kinds of varieties of Filipino bread out there.
And lastly, we have the classic Spanish bread. So it's like a cheese roll, except instead of cheese, it's more butter and sugar. That's why Filipinos get diabetes.
Is there any famous Filipino bread that isn't plain or sweet?
For example, adobo pandesal.
I don't know what to think about this. Like, it's interesting. I don't think I've had this flavor before.
Yeah, I think I never tasted
Because I've never...
similar from other countries.
I don't think any other country thought to put cheese and coconut together. But you guys eat this for breakfast.
Yeah, we do. So we have actually a lot of sweet breakfast. And most of our food are basically either, I say, sweet or salty.
To find a lot of these different kinds of bread, searching up panaderias in Google Maps doesn't always help. At least, not for now. To be honest, I think most of these panaderias are meant to be very local. They're only serving their neighborhood. And they're not really trying to drive attention from anywhere else, which is why I think they're not showing up on Google Maps a lot of the time. I've rode a bunch of grabs around Manila by now, and I keep on passing by all of these panaderias just really quickly, so I can't get them on camera, but they are kind of scattered across the city. However, there are a bunch of franchise bakeries across Manila that make it easier for people to try to find this kind of bread. But I think this is part of what makes this bread culture of the Philippines really exciting. A lot of it hasn't really been dug up to the surface, and even for Filipinos, there are hundreds of local breads out there that would be difficult to know about without traveling to specific parts of the country. I think this whole culture is still being discovered by Filipinos recognizing how unique their cuisine is, and by outsiders who are visiting this country. But I do think this part of Filipino food represents just how so many different cultures have stimulated the cuisine of these islands.